To our fellow members from all sectors, roles and backgrounds, please consider that it is our responsibility, collectively, to advocate for new educators, for all teachers. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou katoa. Ko rangitata te woka, ko Bledisloe te monga, ko Waitangi te awa, ko Ngāpui te iwi, ko Rita Takaingoa. He whangai o kia Waitaha. I'm a year 1 and 2 kaiako from Tamaki Makaurau. This morning we will be exploring why advocating for new teachers is important work that we can all do together.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Mongatapu te monga, ko Maitahi te awa, ko Jenna Robertson toku ingoa, no whakatū aho. E ki ana ki whakatauki, he aha te menui o te ao, he tamariki, he tamariki, he tamariki. You'll hear about the issues facing new educators today, what academics, the Education Council and new educators themselves are saying in response.
Ko Jen aho, no Ngāti Whātua aho. In an NZDI survey earlier this year, nearly 500 educators in their first 3 years of teaching shared their experiences. It gives us a snapshot of who they are and what's happening for them. Let's take you on a journey of new educators across Aotearoa so you can get to know us a little bit better.
Kia ora, I'm Georgina Monagatti. New educators are a diverse bunch, both in ages and stages in their working lives. With almost half over 35 years old, we don't necessarily fit with the mould of recent school leavers. And in fact, most of us aren't, given that 71% of us have been employed full-time prior to teaching. Many people with different life and work experiences are choosing to enter the profession, and it's evident that initial teacher education is becoming more widely available across the country. Those wanting to enter the profession have 23 providers to choose from across 36 sites, who between them offer 65 different primary, kura, kohanga and early childhood teaching qualifications. Modes of study are diverse. For example, more and more student teachers opting for distant learning to fit in with family, work, or due to geographical isolation. Many ECE student teachers are undertaking centre-based training, studying while working on a paid or voluntary basis in centres. Meanwhile, universities are beginning to offer the one-year Master of Teaching and Learning as a primary teaching qualification. According to our survey, most new educators opt for 3 to 4 year undergraduate degrees to begin their teaching career. New educators are also individually investing on average $20,000 towards their qualifications. With such a variety of courses available and the personal and financial investments student teachers are making, it's concerning to us that experienced educators are worried about the quality of initial teacher education we're getting. And while this year the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment has come up with the figures to indicate that teacher supply will be outstripping demand over the next 5 years, we're wondering if this information is enough. We're looking forward to the Ministry of Education stepping up with a real workforce planning strategy. Let's make sure we're there to work with them on that.
So before we know it, we're ready to enter the profession. It's an intense time for everyone as we look for our first job. Some of us transition seamlessly into full-time teaching work in environments that are fully supportive of our first years of teaching. Though it's pretty clear that for some of us, home steady teaching work doesn't come so quickly or even at all. There's plenty of stories, and this year the issue was captured by the media. A lack of job security is having a real ongoing impact on anyone entering the teaching profession or even re-entering the job market.
Move to a small town or do maths or science. It seems that's a good lesson to learn if you're a teacher struggling to find work. A massive oversupply of teachers is resulting in hundreds vying for a single job, with many forced to turn to other professions. And the future's not looking bright either, as Andrew Morrison explains.
This week, John Bembo nearly gave up on his dream to become a primary school teacher, and it's hard to blame him after applying for hundreds of jobs with no luck.
The first 2 years I applied for 200 jobs related to teaching. I've had about 5 interviews.
It's been 5 years since he completed his teaching qualification, not to mention a performing arts degree and masters. But he's been forced to work on school holiday programs and some relief teaching.
It's very hard. A lot of it right now at the moment is kind of rethinking what my career is, researching other areas where I could transfer my skills.
He's not the only one, with supply way outstripping demand, particularly in primary schools.
I think the Ministry needs to have an oversight, probably for the next 5 to 10 years, about what the demand for teachers is going to be.
The government has taken steps like removing teaching from the Immigration Skills and Demand list.
We're in oversupply of teachers at the moment because through the global financial crisis, a lot of people that would normally leave teaching and go and do something else didn't.
But the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment forecasts the long-term demand for teachers isn't going to increase significantly in the next 20 years. The Ministry of Education admits it is a challenge to find a teaching job in New Zealand, but is encouraging graduates to look in rural areas and to specialise in high-demand subjects like maths, science and multi-language. And there are shortages in those areas in many secondary schools, and things could change with an ageing workforce.
The baby boomer generation are getting close to retirement age, that there is going to be the creation of a number of vacancies.
But that's little comfort for qualified teachers like John who need jobs now. Andrew Morrison, One News.
So, entering and completing initial teacher education for uncertain return isn't just expensive for new educators, it's expensive for everyone. Many new graduates are given advice to move for work. For those who are mobile and able, this may be valid advice. So, are new educators willing to look outside the city and move to the regions? Over half of the survey respondents indicated they have or would be willing to move for the permanent teaching job. Less than half indicated that they couldn't. Let's hear from some of the respondents to this question.
Children in my care prevent me from doing this. If I was child-free, then I wouldn't hesitate to move for a permanent position.
My husband makes more money than me. If he could find a job, I definitely would.
After applying for 80 jobs, a school gave me a chance. This chance required me to move 10 hours away from home. Because it was a short fixed term, I left my family behind. There was no transfer assistance, and I had to pay for this move and accommodation in 2 places. It was a great opportunity, and my first CV out after this position, I got a job at my current school. This job is still 7 hours away from home, but at least it's confirmed for 2 terms.
This difficult situation is real and being more widely felt across the country. We all know how amazing it is to get our first education job. But now that added enthusiasm, particularly when it's long enough to get my professional certification. With changes to the Education Council, getting fully certified in a timely manner is really important. What's even more important is a stable environment where we can thrive and develop in, enabling us to realise our dreams to make a difference to our tamariki and their learning. Not all of us are able to experience genuine stability in our work. 82% of us experience fixed-term employment in our first 3 years of teaching. And now many new educators talk about permanent teaching work as a privilege rather than a right. Research from the Teachers' Council also indicated concerns about beginning teachers being in precarious work, highlighting the changing of jobs can be a barrier to the quality of induction and mentoring. What does this really feel like to be one of the 82% in a fixed-term position? Out of all the new educators that took this survey, over 150 of them commented further on the impact of fixed-term work. These are some of the real and unedited quotes of their experiences.
Last year, I was on a fixed-term contract. There were 7 of us at my school on fixed term. The whole year felt like a job interview.
Applying for jobs takes a lot of time and effort, so you do kind of have to make room somehow. My worry is that it means I spend less time doing things for my classroom, as well as being very stressed out by the situation. I hope my performance doesn't suffer from this.
It means I have no real permanency in my life. I don't want to get a mortgage if I don't know if I'll have a job next year, or even if I'll be in the same area.
Having to go through the whole application process year after year is very disheartening. It makes you feel like you are not wanted and they are looking for a better option.
You are hesitant to building any lasting relationships.
I remain gobsmacked that this kind of behaviour is acceptable. Some schools, worse than others, but no one in my cohort was unaffected by the situation.
It feels like new teachers are being punished for being new by having a lot of uncertainty about the future.
I really love my school, and I hope my job gets offered back to me again.
I know directly and anecdotally that many schools now advertise permanent positions as fixed term to try out teachers. This is both immoral, illegal, and immensely frustrating.
I hate it. I don't feel valued and I get scared when I hear about our declining role. If our centre becomes financially unstable, then it's my job that will be gone. I wish I was a permanent staff member.
I think it is important to feel secure, to have a place of belonging and be able to develop great, secure, trusting and safe relationships with the teaching team, whānau and tamariki.
Induction and mentoring programs are a key requirement of working towards full certification. The programs are also a prime opportunity to develop the competencies, confidence and attitudes that will keep us happy and successful in our work. That's why it's worrying to hear that the Teachers' Council found in a study that only about half of the PCTs in schools had their induction and mentoring responsibilities and entitlements explained to them as part of their orientation. This drops to only 41% in early childhood education. In Māori medium, there is a strong commitment to having qualified and registered teachers, but both financial and human resources are stretched when it comes to providing induction and mentoring programs. In a Teachers' Council phone survey, they found tūmaki concerned that they weren't able to fully meet the entitlements for both tutor teachers and provisionally certified teachers. This had a significant effect within the sector and creates a considerable barrier for teachers to gain full certification. While 74% of primary PCTs meet with their tutor teachers once a week, 59% of ECE PCTs meet with their tutor teacher only once a month or once a term. It's clear that the removal of the provisionally registered teachers grant in the ECE sector has left ECE new educators disadvantaged. More and more induction and mentoring programs for ECE new educators are suffering as a consequence of budget and time constraints. And that's if they are happening at all. There are many PCTs who report having a well-chosen mentor, clear expectations, a supportive workplace, useful resources, and sufficient time for induction and mentoring, with entitlements that are prioritised and protected. All of this gives new educators a strong foundation and returns on the investment put into them by all involved. They'll also be less likely to become one of the 37% who leave teaching after their first 3 years. Not everyone has such a positive experience, and many new educators use the NZEI survey as an opportunity to share their stories. Here's some of them.
I've had 2 very different experiences. My first year, I was left to fend for myself with very little input from my mentoring program. This year, my program is more structured and I have progressed a lot in a short space of time.
As a casual relieving teacher, I don't have any real access to the mentoring program at the centre I am working for. I've worked for the centre for 4 years, on and off.
I think the job of a mentor teacher is great, but when there is a discretion in who gets this job, Mine is amazing, but far too busy for me. This sort of thing is out of our control, but has a massive impact on our workload and well-being.
My mentor relationship in my first year just about ended my career in teaching, and I was diagnosed with situational depression.
My boss promised to start my registration as soon as I'd been there for 6 months. It didn't happen. I even asked if I could pay for my own mentor. The reply was no.
To all our fellow members from all sectors, roles and backgrounds,
Please consider
that it is our responsibility
collectively
to advocate for all new educators,
for all educators. We know that beginner teachers thrive when their professional leaders create conditions which contribute positively to effective induction. We also know we grow as professionals in collaborative environments, which offer emotional, logistical, and ongoing teacher support and development. Learning to teach is complex, lengthy, and undertaking, from preparation to new teacher induction to continuing professional development. Its success depends on the contributions of us all at each stage of the continuum. Each of us has a critical part to play, and none of us can do this job alone. And as new educators, we need your help to make learning to teach as successful as possible.
To our fellow members from all sectors, roles and backgrounds, please consider that it is our responsibility, collectively, to advocate for new educators.
To allow space and opportunities for new educators to support each other. To ensure that all new educators are genuinely supported on each part of their teaching journey. That they know that their experiences and issues are heard. That they genuinely see themselves in their union. And that their fellow members, or you guys, support us. Let's ensure new educators are in fair, stable and collegial working environments which allow them to thrive. For the ongoing integrity of our profession. For future new educators. And for future generations of tamariki. So how will you help? Nō reira, kia kaha, kia maia, kia manawa nui. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā rā tātou katoa.